it's a very interesting time for all of us right now. And the way I see it is a huge opportunity for creative disruption. It's very difficult otherwise on traditional distribution to actually completely disrupt and introduce new concepts. And specifically, like you mentioned, we deal with 2 public sector banks. We cater to 98% of the PIN codes of India. And to have deep reaching new methods is not something we can achieve overnight. What we also have as an advantage at IndiaFirst Life has been the fact that we were a little bit of a late entrant, so we could start a lot without paper. So we started with a lot of technology enablement. But let me just step back a little. I mean, what does a customer go to a distributor for? He goes to the distributor for information, for knowledge. He goes because he has access. He can walk into a branch. He can speak to anyone out there. The money lies with the banker. He also goes for enablement. That means the banker can actually help him purchase a policy and service it at later dates, or even for claim management. Now, what can an insurer do to enable the distributor on all these 3 fronts? I think that's something that has gained a lot of speed during the pandemic. There is a lot more perspective that's come in terms of access. Today, we are allowing for video KYCs. We are allowing for a lot of telemedicals. We are enabling a lot of OTP-based forms. Now, like I mentioned, as an insurer, we've always been in a better space because we had 95% of our applications that were tab-based. But we went one step ahead. We launched a couple of more initiatives such as Ghar Baithe Insurance, which basically worked on enabling our feet on street through our distributors rather than simply enabling, a digital channel of distribution, which we anyway have and which did see some amount of more traction with the pandemic. But our bigger challenge and our bigger opportunity is, the way I see it, is that we could enable our distribution. So we launched eSampark, which was a webinar-based program for our branch activities, which otherwise would happen in-house on the floor. We instead started inviting through our bank branches. We enabled our bank branches and the managers to actually invite customers for information. We provided them with presentations, with more information, with service requests, and we helped them remotely. We actually enabled a remote form filling and supported customers. We actually we supported them in filling the form, send them the documents. We supplemented through credit bureau information and eKYCs. Now, when all these things come together and people are sitting in their own homes and the same trust exists, that means the same banker, the same people they have actually trusted with their money for the last decade or more, or 30 years or 40 years, as the way it is with public sector banks. After that, when these people are fully enabled to service these customers without actually having to risk getting out of their houses, taking public transport, or moving around on the roads, have actually given a lot more confidence. And I see this as a sea change and an enablement that has happened in the bank assurance sector, where customers' mindsets and openness to going to their distributors enabled with technology and getting serviced remotely is something that I think the pandemic has given us an opportunity for.
Sorry, lost connectivity there. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So thanks, Sonia. I think that was very insightful. The number of initiatives that have been taken to enable the entire distribution and, allow ease of sale as well as ease of servicing. I think, and that's particularly remarkable given the public sector environment that you need to operate from a distributor standpoint in. So thank you very much for that. Next question, Gaurav, if we could get your perspective, since you work with a multi-distribution environment, right, with agency, bank assurance, direct, and other channels, right? How have you seen, these channels getting disrupted, right, with the infusion of technology, and particularly for agency, which is such a feet-on-street channel? How are you empowering them, to do contactless sales and move away from face-to-face distribution?
Thank you, Shruti, for that insight. I think Sonia covered it pretty nicely, but I would like to add on to one thing and say that today the traditional distribution channel, which is agency, is setting up for a big disruption. And when I say big disruption, there are two parts to it. If we think that the physical distribution is going to go anyway away, it is not going away. It is going to stay. However, the newer business and the millennials which are coming up and adopting these kind of changes will create a huge line of new business which is going to come in for us. A lot of things will also matter in this, and the specific bit is, as I'm picking up from various different aspect, is that possibly robo advisory is going to come in a big way in insurance, and specifically in insurance advisory. That is going to create a separate line of site for the customers as well as the agents. At the same time, the individual agents which are there today, we have about over 2 million life insurance agents in the industry. These are going to transform through the digital routes and through the digital tools, and specifically they will adopt technology in a big way. Some of the bits on technology which is emerging out today is like a co-browsing feature, wherein the customer at a remote location is sitting and the seller is at a different location. Both of them are talking and actually filling up the forms. So there is a huge transformation which will happen through this pandemic, and it would be neither a physical distribution nor a digital distribution. It will be more of a phygital distribution, which will ensure that the agents which are today a little less knowledgeable will have to improve their abilities and knowledge to be able to interact with the customers. And if they have to do this, they would have to seek external robo advisory to come into their foray. And a lot of life insurance organizations will also have to transform, because today the life insurance organizations are thinking more digitization rather than being digital, because there are two specific differentiation between being digital and being a digitized organization. So in the last 10-15 years, all the life insurance has been able to digitize their process, but they haven't been able to adopt to digital tools, which would be the key differentiator for the customer. And I think the last 6 months, the pandemic has shown us this. At Aditya Birla Sunlife Insurance, we were the first ones actually to get into such kind of tools, because we enabled video chats. So right from the month of April, we had a video dialogue with the customer. Right from day one, we said that we would not require a physical signatures, which is more in terms of a CDF. We said that we are going to enable that digitally. Plus, we have also enabled a lot of tools which were actually the digital tools in terms of prospecting, as well as in terms of managing the lead. Both in our agency as well as in our bank assurance, today we see a growth in H1. As an organization, we had grown by about 7% during this pandemic, and I think this is thanks to the change in environment and our nimbleness to adopt technology.
Thanks, Gaurav. Gaurav, also wanted to understand, have you seen any difference in the customer segment you're getting now as you did post-pandemic? Has there been really a new customer segment that, that you're seeing has started taking insurance? Or is it more of digital sale than physical sale happening earlier?
No, the customer segmentation is changing. You're right, Shruti there. But the change is... I'm sorry, there is an echo. Shruti, if you can go on mute. Yeah, thank you. So basically, what's happening today on the customer segmentation is that existing customers who had already purchased life insurance policies with us, their renewal rate has gone up. So at an org level, our renewal rates have increased by 3% on a very higher base. So customers who were the earlier pickers of life insurance, they have understood that we have to pay renewal premiums. A lot of other individuals who are young in nature, so our average age in this last 6 months have reduced by about 3 years. So So earlier, our average age of buying population was about close to about 43 or something. Today, it is coming to 40. That means a lot more younger people are understanding the need of life insurance, and hence they are willing to take it. Also, there has been a shift. It was earlier, the segmentation was about 55% of the population used to be uh, salaried individual, and about 46% of were from the SME class. That shift is also happening. So there is a transformation which is happening in the customer side. There's a transformation which is happening at the org level, and there is a transformation which is happening at the distributor level. So all the three pieces are actually getting disruptive, and I think we are in for a very, very exciting road ahead in life insurance industry, especially in India.
I think it's really interesting to see that, the change is happening across, and we're also, not only disrupting our existing models, but also getting new and different kind of customers, to take insurance than we did earlier. Dipu, are you able to hear us? Okay. So I'm not sure if we still have Dipu. We'll wait. So Anika, if maybe I could ask you the next question. In the recent years, hi Anika. So in the recent years, Anika, there's been a lot of focus on hyper customization and hyper personalization. Right? There has been, how we can get more information about the customers and really tailor made it. And moving from a segment of customers, it's almost becoming, now to individual customers, right? How are you adapting to that? And what is it that you're doing, to bring in this wave of hyper personalization?
I think two or three things to point out. You'll have to go on mute. Thank you. So 2 or 3 things to point out there, Shruti. I think the first one is, how do you really get your first party data right? Because a lot of our core issues in insurance is that we have a lot of first party data, but it's not in a usable format. So I think first step for us was to get our own data lake and get our own data sorted and right. The second step, of course, is that we get a lot of third party data coming in now. And at least for all our digital platforms now, we have personalization options available. So if you've been with us once and we know you, we will have the right offer for you. We will know your history. And those things are quite simple. But in insurance, the fact of the matter is just getting the data layer right. That has been our biggest challenge. And that's what we worked on for the last 12 to 18 months. And once you have that, then there are many use cases of personalization. You can use the personalization use cases in your drop-off journeys if somebody's come to you. You can use the personalization use cases in your customer engagement campaigns, in your claims journeys. So there are multiple use cases. But I think for all insurers, getting the first-party data right is the first step. And then, of course, when you deploy any stacks on top of it, usually you have multiple solutions available in the market, right? And the easiest and the shortest way of doing it is to buy them off the shelf and sort of try and do a plug and play. So I think somewhere what we've done is that we've taken the harder journey there and a longer journey there to build our own. And that's when our use cases have started. In times of COVID, for example, on our digital platforms, we have personalization and drop-off journeys implemented across. And we've seen almost 30% users actually, the returning users actually completing an online journey, which was actually unheard of. And I'm talking completely unassisted journeys. So there is great merit and, opportunity there, provided you get the base right.
I think, health is one of the areas where there's been obviously a lot of awareness and perhaps a lot of push from customers as well, to understand their products. Any other radical shift that you have seen post the pandemic, from a customer, from a distribution perspective, in your sales process?
So I think first is actually very largely a cultural shift. Because if you see, customers had their hesitation.
Anika, you're talking on mute? Okay, I think we have probably a network issue in there.
No, we can hear you. Even I can hear Anika.
So I think, Shruti, it's yours, but I'll continue then if that's the case. I think 2 or 3 key shifts. First is actually in the mindset of our distributors, right? So a large, in insurance market, it's the distributor who's actually the advocate, and he's the one who actually gets the change in customer behavior. So you've seen that shift actually happening in our agent and distributor behavior as well. there were a lot of digital tools and assets already available, but usage of those and adoption of those is at an all-time high. So, for example, when the pandemic hit, I remember in March, we had launched our instant agent onboarding app about 6 weeks ago. The adoption was about 50%. All agents still came back and said, I will send you my papers. Please open my code. Come April now, 99%, because they don't have a choice, are actually being onboarded through the app within 2 hours, right? And it was always available. It was available before as well. So I think it's a lot to do with the distributor mindset and how they are adapting to new technologies to sell insurance. I think that's been one interesting journey. The second piece from a customer point of view is that, of course, a younger segment of customers are coming in, as Gaurav mentioned. Even in health insurance, our average age was about 36. That's dropped to about 32, right? So you've got much younger customers who always thought that they don't need insurance coming in. What that also does is that there is a lot more disruption in terms of part to purchase. So if you look at part to purchase, at only about 10 to 12% customers would actually search online and then, complete their journey either with us or on a web aggregator platform like Policy Bazaar. But today that number is about 25%. So customers are more comfortable using the digital tools and buying. If you look at the recommendation journeys that we've built in, more than 10% of our customers actually complete the sale through the recommendation journey. We had not seen any of these things in the past. So of course, there is a huge shift in terms of how people, buy and search for insurance online.
Thanks, Anika. Very, very interesting to know that, people are coming online and finishing the journeys without any assistance altogether. So I can see Dipu. Dipu's online now.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you, Dipu. Thank
Okay.
you. So, Dipu, I know there is a lot of initiatives that you've undertaken in, from a customer experience perspective, and wanted to understand, what is it, what change have you witnessed? What is the digital adoption post the pandemic? What are some of the new initiatives that you have rolled out? There was a lot of skepticism on medical checkups, right? Where people being hesitant to get those done, anything that we've done to kind of circumvent that process. So wanted to get your perspective on this.
Okay. Thank you, Shruti. You can hear me clearly, right? Just wanted to confirm. Yeah, okay. So Shruti, right at the onset of the pandemic, essentially, we were able to migrate all our customers, to our digital servicing channels. We had invested in our digitization journey prior to the pandemic. Even today, 80% of our servicing happens via digital channels. We have WhatsApp, we have a mobile app, we have our own AI-driven bot. The other thing which we did was we also focused on meeting customers' unstated needs. The customers were very worried about getting themselves tested, but they couldn't go to the hospital. Similarly, while you have the lockdown, but you can't prevent people from going to the doctor or wanting to get recovered. And also we found that there was a massive need for contact tracing. So what we did was come out with unique features on our app. We came out with a contact tracing feature on our app called Social Trackback, whereby people could log in their contacts and keep track of whom they met. Similarly, we came out with the doctor on chat feature, so they could take a digital consultation and then just go and buy medicines. We also came out with the COVID-19 assessment tool on our mobile app. So because we were able to meet customers' unstated needs and move customers to our digital journeys, we saw a significant impact from a customer metric perspective. When we got an independent NPS survey done, we found that we enjoyed the highest NPS scores in the marketplace. Our customer complaints came down by a whopping 90%, and we picked up a host of global awards on the customer experience front. So that's what we were able to do. Going forward, Shruti, what we are focusing on is nowadays everybody is wary of touch. So we are focusing on what we call touchless UI UX. On the one hand, when customers walk into our branches, we are leveraging barcodes. So customers can scan barcodes and they can get various requests fulfilled, be it issuance of a policy or be it raising a claim. The other is we were a little ahead of our time when nearly 2 to 3 years back, we were amongst the first players to integrate our AI-driven bot with Alexa and Google Assistant when they were launched in India. But now that the pandemic is on and people are focusing on touchless UI UX, we see significant traction in voice-based servicing. The third thing is, especially in the Indian context, English tends to be the language which is a default choice when it comes to digital assets. We have rolled out a host of our digital assets in languages other than English. So for example, our chatbot is available in Hindi and it immediately amplified our reach. We also won the global EFMI Accenture Innovation and Insurance Award in June, where we launched a mobile app exclusively in Indian languages for our crop insurance farmers in rural India. They could interact with us, they could interact with the government. And since information asymmetry is very typical of agriculture markets, they could get a host of services by using the app. They got crop advisory, they got crop diagnostics, they got information on the weather, they got pricing information. So this is the bouquet of initiatives which we have rolled out and which we plan to continue to roll out in the coming few months.
Very, very interesting, Dipu. I think a whole host of initiatives, and especially around touchless UI UX. One more question, Dipu. Post the pandemic, right? There must have been a shift in your product mix, right? With some of the motor sales perhaps taking a setbacks, more focus on health. Are there any new products that you've seen, where there has been more traction, particularly from a digital perspective? Any new LOBs that are emerging now? Mangesh, if I could request you to go on mute, please. Sorry. Thank you.
So Shruti, good question. Because we leveraged, the work from home of the digital, scenario to actually launch products digitally. We launched a couple of products using Instagram. So that's one way, in which we leverage, the digital landscape, which is prevalent today. One product which we launched recently and on which, we got a lot of positive feedback from our customers and partners was when we launched pet insurance. Similarly, like you rightly said, initially motor insurance, saw a dip because insurance is a derived product. If you don't have primary sales of cars happening, people cannot buy motor insurance. But as car sales picked up, motor insurance has, now come back on track. Travel, of course, will take time to recover. On health insurance front, there definitely has been a spike because people are, much more conscious of their own health today. Now, if you look at the way insurance has morphed, over the years, when insurance was first launched in the 1600s, the biggest form of insurance was marine insurance because at that time, everything was get transferred through ships. When the automobile revolution happened, the biggest form of insurance morphed from marine insurance to automobile insurance. And as we go into an increasingly digital world where everything is digital, cyber insurance could very well be the next frontier. So we do see, this shift, in the product mix of various insurers going forward.
Thanks, Dipu. Very, very insightful, and fully agree with you. I think cyber insurance is something that will gain traction hopefully very quickly. Very often do we hear about some major cyber frauds that have happened, and it's something that needs to be covered. So thanks, Dipu.
Thank you.
As we move forward, Mangesh, I think with a lot of discussions that is happening over here is from an Insuretech perspective, right? And I wanted to understand that, what are some of the digital solutions that you see are being leveraged by insurers today, to make this change from physical to face-to-face interaction to a virtual interaction, right? And enablement of the entire sales journey.
Yeah. Thanks, Shruti, for having me, and thanks everybody for the platform. So let me just, my focus will be more on the questions from the perspective of the life and health, where there is a higher advisory model. And as shared by Gaurav, also in terms of the model, there will always be hello, sorry.
We can hear you, Mangesh.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Okay. So that advisory model, what we saw that in the initial stages, people were more able to just look at the co-browse screen share apps like a Zoom, but it was hardly anything that insurer had to do. But the real challenge came up when there were people started finding that the customers were unsecured about the sharing of the information that the complete screen sharing was leading to. Even the regulators were unhappy about the complete screen sharing. As a result, the co-browsing came into the picture. A lot of insurers attempted co-browsing where it was a restricted access to specific areas. There were audit controls onto that, and it was very easy to install as well. So a lot of insurers across the Asia Pacific, Middle East, we saw that the implementation adopting a quick solution. But the key point was that they were not able to integrate the journey of the agent and the customer into one single unified omni-channel experience. So that's where the need came as to that how that integrated collaborate model was the true need of the insurers, where the advisor could actually engage with the customer all across in the entire journey. To start with the journey was very critical to complete the transactional e-application process. And for the e-application area, they found that there were a need for the critical, it's not only about sharing the application form, how seamlessly. So we worked on that area to share that e-application that the agent has completed, the codes that he has generated with the customer, which he can seamlessly transfer to the customer to do to play on his own, to do gamification, to do a lot of add-on illustrations. He can do the add-on extension of the completing the declarations, which could be the regulatory part in various geographies. The regulator wants the declaration to be self-filled by the customer. He could complete the attachments of the documents which are more confidential and a customer is not able to share. So this he could do it seamlessly on his own mobile or his own device in a very secured environment. And that was where the regulators were also very comfortable in terms of the whole process of the journey. And that's completing the entire journey with the e-signature or with the OTP process that we were able to implement and complete the whole with a payment on his own secure device. This complete journey was very critical at a very immediate with a foothold on the omni-channel experience that the insurer could have, and that was the critical aspect. And in the true advisory model, it was also important that if the customer engages at a need analysis level or at an illustration level to play around with alternative scenarios that the agent has not able to present to him and address the sales objection much more comprehensively to close the sale faster. So this is what we have seen as a journey, that the evolution from a pure net meeting to the co-browsing to all the way going up to a true collaborate model, which needs a true omni-channel readiness of the insurers.
Mangesh, very helpful.
Yeah.
Another question, I think, with your experience of having, implemented some of these solutions also internationally, right? How do you...
There is an echo. Shruti, there is an echo.
I think everyone's on mute. Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, after you speak, maybe you can mute it. Yeah.
So I think, one of the other questions was that, with your experience of having implemented some of these solutions also internationally, right? How do you think the Indian insurers are placed from a technology architecture perspective, right? To kind of build a sustainable digital and, resilient model, right? So just wanted to get some thoughts from you on that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question and a very big one. Maybe very short time to answer, but I will answer it at a very high level key points. The key points from an architecture standpoint, which I was just even listening to the earlier panel discussion with Mr. Iswaran and the entire panel talking about what is the role of the insurers in the next digital ecosystem. And the key point over there also that the architecture has to be ready for the insurers to evolve into the new digital ecosystem. Even if the players like a Google or Geo or WeChat, anybody enters into an insurance landscape, they can never replace an insurer's strength in terms of his manufacturing of the products and innovation, which is coming specific to the insurance need. So there we find that the key parameters and the factors that an insurer can sustain and thrive in this digital ecosystem is primarily the omni-channel capability. Whether he has built solutions specifically for an agent separately or for a customer separately or a customer service separately, as a result of which his ability to engage the same service and experience and cut across for example, it happened in the contactless selling that an agent could transition his exchange of a particular application form to a customer in his customer journey very seamlessly. So if your applications are not siloed and they are truly omni-channel is one of the first critical factor. The second aspect is the configurability, which will determine the time to market. So it is not just about a one-time issuing a product or one-time partnering a unique thing, but how configurable are your product in a end-to-end journey to reduce the time to market for your adaptation to a new Insuretech partner or to a new distribution partner that you want to engage, whether to bundle the products or whether to offer it in a new business model. The third aspect that comes critical is the granularity. At what level of granularity you can go in terms of product offering? If they are they strategic in terms of your current product types, or it can be granularized to a small benefit. One of the key factors we hear in is that from auto insurance moving up to pay-as-you-use model to become a ride insurance. So same way, every product can be granularized and to a smallest of benefit, and that are you able to package and bundle with the customer. So this granularity can extend further in all space of the insurance landscape, whether you talk it in terms of the underwriting space or to give the quote at an individual level on the field, right at the point of sale, rather than going to for a submission. So we see models evolving in Hong Kong with some of the leading insurer going for a pre-underwritten product, the way we have a pre-approved loans in the financial segment. So that to given to every individual. So as a result of that, that needs a lot of AI-based learning to feed into this information. So that is the granularity I'm talking about. Granularity can also extend in their distribution compensation and many other areas where you can able to give compensation package unique to each agent, whether it is an MDRT agent or to any other, or create a salary structure for the new millennial channel, which is a salary structure which is uniquely crafted to each one's target that he is willing to do. So that is what I'm talking about, hyper personalization. And this has become a reality we have already implemented in quite a lot of customers in the Asia Pacific. So this becomes a third aspect. The fourth is the integrability. How easy are you able to integrate with any ecosystem player? Whether it is through how services oriented you are, and I would take it up further to microservice oriented. So if you are ready with the microservices, your handshakes with any Insuretech player, with any bank partner, with any distribution partner whom you can come into, you are able to handshake seamlessly. So these are the four tenets I feel are very critical, which becomes important metrics for you to sustain digital transformation. So which business model comes in, whichever bundling package product that you need to create, or whichever partner you want to integrate with, and all this will be much agile vis-a-vis the competitive environment, and you stay in the digital world. So even an ecosystem like Amazon or Google or Geo will not be impacting you in the aspect of the product.
Thanks.
And
Thanks,
all
Mangesh.
these will help you even here to the AI utilization much better.
Thanks, Mangesh. I think that was very helpful. The need for an omni-channel environment and hyper-personalization, not only for customers but also for our distributors and their incentives, is a must. And going forward, it's something that we will rapidly evolve towards. So thank you, Mangesh. Simon, if I could ask the next question to you, and since you've also had the benefit of hearing some of the other participants, wanted to get your view on what do you think is the way forward for insurance distribution?
Yes, thank you, Shruti, and hopefully you can hear me okay. I do get the pleasure of having listened to everybody else. The trouble is with that, there are not many perhaps good insights to share after everyone else's wisdom, but I'll try. I mean, I think most of us will have heard the keynote presentation from my business partner, Hugh Terry, a little bit earlier. And Hugh talked about the warning that we issued to the industry a few months ago now around the accelerated sort of adoption of digital by consumers going past that tipping point. And we feel quite strongly about that. And actually, we're really encouraged that, I guess, the global industry is now starting to really take the need for transformation seriously this year. But of course, it's not just consumer adoption that's been accelerating as a result of COVID. I think another big thing that's come about by COVID is actually weaknesses in distribution models have been exposed through the last few months. And some examples of that are obviously, firstly, around technology not working. A lot of the agency businesses have kind of been geared up for face-to-face and not virtual selling. So we've been hearing about some of the, the steps that have been taken by some of the vendors more recently to support that. But for a lot of companies, they've been kind of putting sticky plasters over their point of sale systems, and there's still a lot of investment in technology that needs to come. I think another kind of weakness that's been exposed through COVID is the fact that most agents don't have a digital presence online. They kind of know their clients face to face, or maybe through social media a little bit, through WhatsApp or whatever. But they're coming across at the moment as a bit out of touch with customers. And I think another thing that COVID has done is expose skill gaps. I think for a lot of agents, they're being pulled quickly into this digital world, a lot of them uncomfortable with it, perhaps not that savvy with social. And actually in the bank assurance world, it's great to hear Sonia's opening remarks, but for a lot of banks, their relationship managers have kind of been farmers rather than hunters. They've been relying on leads being given to them and then closing those out. And of course, now those leads aren't coming in the same way. So bank assurance, relationship managers are being challenged like never before as well. And the final, I think, sort of weakness on distribution that's been exposed a little bit is the lack of ecosystem connectivity. The industry generally is not that well set for new sources of demand for insurance. And it's not particularly well geared up to offer sort of value-adding services and products working with other partners. So I think COVID's exposed quite a lot of challenges for distribution. Having said that, certainly at TDI, we're really bullish on the potential for the industry, including the demand for sort of increasingly digitally supported advisors support and the advisory channel. So with that backdrop in mind and us being positive, I think there's a couple of areas, Shruti, that we're particularly kind of mindful of in terms of where COVID's going to take us. The first is the Omni Advisor, and it was great to listen to Mangesh just now about some of the steps his organization are taking. We've just released a point of view paper actually on the title of Agency Alarm Bells Are Ringing. And the reason we've done that is because we're seeing a kind of accelerated demise, I guess, of the traditional sales agent, and an increased investment and interest in what we call the quality agent. And the quality agent is one that's increasingly digitally enabled, focusing on doing a proper financial planning job, higher persistency, higher activity rates. But we're also seeing the emergence of a new game in town, and that's something we call the Omni Advisor. And this is kind of akin to a relationship manager in a bank, acting as a single interface between the customer and the big company, working across channels, perhaps across marketing, sales, and servicing. And representing and coordinating really a kind of single multi-channel interface with the customer. So I see this as a really exciting thing for customers, and we're all customers, because there's nothing worse than dealing with a black hole. We all love the security of a big insurance brand, but we all feel a bit vulnerable when there's just one person we know face to face. If he or she moves on, where's the relationship? The Omni Advisor model enables the insurer to establish a kind of a personalized contact, but with a kind of a team-based ecosystem around them and a multi-channel experience for the customer. And I think the key components of this omni-channel advisor model are going to be a kind of digital presence online, where you're going to see more and more personalized microsites where agents have got these with the company branding around their image, and their team support sort of virtually accessible online as well. And that kind of customer engagement hub that becomes the familiar, comfortable landing place for consumers to get a mix of big company security and personalized connectivity. So that's the first big trend I think we're expecting to accelerate. The other is around ecosystems, again, which was covered a little bit earlier. And I think we're really excited about this. The kind of, we've got a session on this a bit later on another event, but, if you look at the multiples that analysts put on platform businesses and ecosystem businesses versus traditional linear businesses like insurance, they're 5-10 times higher the multiples on a PE basis. So there's huge potential through network effects to scale businesses more profitably in platform environments. And it's a natural evolution for insurers to start exploring platform businesses, whether that be social media, ride hailing, or whatever, or ecosystems like health and wellness, to extend their range of products and services, as well as to sort of find other ways of distributing traditional insurance. And when I say extend the range of products and services, this is a really key opportunity for insurers and life insurers in particular. We've always struggled to kind of connect and have a good reason to talk to customers regularly. As soon as you bring in wider products and services, the opportunity comes to the table to connect daily with our customers. So we see the kind of opportunity for insurers to partner with platform and ecosystem players, whether it be to distribute or to bring in their products and services, really exciting. Bain have done some great research on this and clearly show that the NPS scores are much higher from customers for the insurers that give them added value products and services, not just insurance. And another sort of proof point I'll drop in is McKinsey estimates by 2025, nearly a third of the world's GDP is going to be coming out of ecosystems. So these are two really exciting areas for us, Shruti, I think, coming on the back of it. And I guess just sort of then tying in this thread to Insuretech, because I'm sure you're going to ask what is the role of Insuretech in this? It's kind of multifaceted. We look at the Insuretech world through two lenses. The first is how technology is helping improve what we do today, which we call value chain innovations. And the other is how it's creating new ways of doing insurance, new business models. And of course, all the excitement, all the hype a few years ago was around Insuretechs, knocking over all the big insurers and kind of creating all these new businesses. And a few years later, the pendulum swung a little bit back towards value chain innovations. And a lot of the deal flow and a lot of the Insuretech focus is with the existing insurers, helping them improve what they're doing today, as well as exploring new digital distribution models of the future. So there you go. Our view, I think, is this technology, Insuretech, the buzz phrase, is the key that unlocks the potential for our industry to become more trusted, more relevant, more embedded, and frankly, better value around the world. So we're really bullish. So I'll back to you, Shruti.
Thanks, Arvind. That was very, very helpful. I think if I can just summarize, there is a lot that has already happened, to enable virtual distribution, to become more customer-centric on hyper-personalization. But clearly, there is a lot still more to do. And I can see very exciting times for insurance going ahead. So I can already see Namrata over here. So I'm sure we've exceeded the time on the panel. So, but thank you everyone for coming on board and sharing your valuable insights and experience. Thank you.